You're listening to Simonelli Chats, where we aim to share the latest Simonelli company news, real estate industry insights, and announcements. I'm your host, Grace Johnson, and today we have a special guest joining us. She's the co-founder and director of storytelling at Step Out Buffalo, a media company dedicated to showcasing the best of Buffalo's community and offerings. Please welcome Emily Morrow. Hi, Emily. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. I've only been in Buffalo for a little over 2 years now, and when I came to the city, Step Out Buffalo was like the best resource ever for finding things in the city and all around. And
That's
so
awesome.
I've been a big fan since day one.
Thank you. That's so great to hear, always.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to co-founding Step Out Buffalo and how your role has evolved over time?
Yes. So I actually can't take the credit. It was my dad's idea. So my co-founder is my dad, Chuck. We traveled a lot. And I studied abroad in Barcelona. We used like similar resources during those trips and just kind of felt like we needed something similar here that was really focused on things to do, events, restaurants. We're big food people, so we kind of just love to like go out and eat, try new restaurants, things like that. So it was kind of also like the time where Larkin Square, if you're new to Buffalo, this might not like land for you, but listeners, maybe it was like 11 years ago almost now.
Okay.
So Larkin Square was just starting like Food Truck Tuesdays. And my parents were like, there's this like really cool event happening. Like nobody really knows about it. Like it's down in Larkin Square, and we're from Hamburg. We're from the suburbs. So
Nice.
obviously it's only like 20 minutes away, but it's the kind of thing that you don't know about. It's like just small enough, just flies under the radar enough that you might not know. So we're kind of like, we need something that like tells you about these things before they happen, not after. So that was kind of like the catalyst to founding Step Out. And then in terms of my role, it's evolved a lot. It evolves regularly as like any business owner, entrepreneur kind of does. And our goal is always to like figure things out and shift it off our plates, hire as quickly as we can. But it started with writing and content creation and curation and all the marketing and distribution and social and stuff like that and the email newsletter. And it kind of evolved to like incorporate sales and advertising as we monetized, and then HR, management, really all of the things. And now I kind of manage all of that at a higher level and basically a firefighter, problem solver. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Well, 11 years, I mean, that's a long time. Like, how long did it take really for you to hit that like monetization point, or where you're like, oh, this is bigger than just me and a few other people?
Yeah. Monetization, I mean, with anything where you're monetizing an audience, obviously we really didn't know what we were doing at first either. So it took probably a couple years before we sat down and started monetizing, starting having advertising products and like putting our sales team out there. And then that took a while to even like land. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Cause I'm going to say like the Step Out Buffalo that I know, I'm sure, started on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And would you say that like your purpose or mission was always kind of to connect that Buffalo community, like bring people together through what's happening around the area?
Exactly. I think connection is like the best word to describe it. And it really, for us, it comes down more to like connecting the businesses with the community and the people so that like they can take action and actually leave their house, enjoy these things. We want to see the businesses thrive. We want to see people enjoy Buffalo. Not being from Buffalo, maybe this like doesn't ring true for you, especially now with like the resurgence is so like full on here, but like we do have that reputation of like Buffalo's boring, or if you grow up here, that's how you feel.
Yes.
Like it's not as in your face as it is in like New York or LA or like Austin. So we kind of just like want to break that reputation a little bit. And obviously the weather even is like a big friction point to like leaving your house. So we just felt like a publication like this where we're coming to you on social or your email or wherever, and like putting it in front of your face and like breaking down that barrier of like, what can you expect if you go to this place would help like make that connection and obviously just have the whole community thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you do a great job too. Like I said, you're all over the place, and it was helpful for me when I joined the city in the area.
Thank you.
And with social media, I mean, that's a huge part of how, I kind of found you guys. I think a lot of people probably interact with Step Out Buffalo on social media. But how has that really impacted your journey? Because, 11 years ago, it was a thing, but not like it is today.
Right. It's definitely been a main factor from the beginning. So 11 years ago, to just take everyone back, that was Facebook, really.
Yes,
Like
yep.
Instagram existed, but we were posting grainy pictures on there that we shouldn't be posting. So yeah, it's been a huge factor. Like I would say about 2 months in, we kind of realized we were building out our blog, which we don't like to call it a blog, but really it truly is a blog. So like we were building out the website and we realized we need distribution quickly. Like we can't wait for SEO to like kick in. So we turned to Facebook, and our strategy from the beginning on social has always just been like consistency, experimentation, and volume. And obviously people have different strategies. Those are our key things. And that's really what's helped us to grow and also like stick through like tough, uncertain times like COVID, for example.
Yeah, I guess touching on that, a little bit, like what did that look like in the middle of COVID when everything kind of shut down?
It was messy.
Yeah.
So it felt like we were just hitting our stride and then like that happened. We just like pivoted and we turned our logo into Stay in Buffalo and just like had fun with it.
Yeah.
And we have like our community aspect to fall back on. So just like everyone was, you just adjust and then adjust back. And honestly, we came out of it stronger. Like we took the time to like develop more on the sales side and other aspects of the business that we just hadn't had time to like focus on.
Sure. Yeah. You definitely turn that into a positive.
Yeah.
And what does the Step Up Buffalo team look like? I mean, how do you manage creating so many engaging pieces of content for both website, social media, blog? I mean, all of those aspects.
Yeah. So in Buffalo, we have 8 of us full time. That's including me and Chuck. And then we have like a team of 4 to 8 freelancers. People kind of come and go.
Sure.
At the beginning, we started with a lot of freelancers. And then we actually just expanded to Columbus, our first expansion city. So we have 1 full-time person there. We're our own target audience, so that's what makes it so easy to do. And we like started by creating content that we really wanted. Like I said, like we were building this resource for ourselves. So it's easy to keep up with. We still get excited like every time we post something because we want to know this information ourselves.
Yes.
And I would say like content's just our bread and butter. So it's something we're focused on. We're constantly thinking about like that's what we spend our time doing. So we definitely work backwards from like our volume strategy. So with that being so important to us and we know it's important, we know we need to hit those numbers. We're constantly looking at how do we get there without like compromising quality.
Sure.
And you do have to be like strategic to hit both, I think. And I'm kind of like an efficiency nerd. So that's like something that's always on my mind is like, how do we optimize for all of our goals? And logistically, you have to stay organized, very planned, and the schedules are our life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we've here at Simonelli just really expanded our content in that realm as well. And my goodness, I mean, the amount of work that goes into it that you don't even consider. You're like, oh, this is a great idea. And then you start and you're like, holy crap. I mean,
you're like, wait a second.
Yes. And then all of a sudden you need extra tools and, whether it's programs or people or different ideas. I mean, it's a lot to manage.
Yeah. And you think those tools are going to like really help you. And then you realize, they don't do this feature that you really need.
Yep. And then you upgrade now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I think something for us, we're always looking at storytelling and having that effective content creation that you touched on. So how would you define effective storytelling in the context of media and content creation?
So I would say it's all about like building a narrative and that leaves a lasting impression. And for me, there's a couple components that I think about. One is knowing your audience better than they know themselves. So that's like the topic, what they care about, whether that's consciously or subconsciously.
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of that, subconscious that needs to be mixed in there. And then the hook and how do you make them care? Using the hook, using visuals at the beginning, making that first sentence count, whether it's like the blog title or the real hook or whatever it is, the caption, first sentence of the caption. And then the connection, I would say connection is the second thing, like making it super relatable. And it just like needs to resonate on a deeper level. So I think to me, that's a highly underrated tool. I'm sure it's like, it sounds obvious, but like to dive into that a little bit more, like the content needs to evoke emotion. I actually recently listened to a podcast earlier this week and it was like, they were talking about working backwards from an emotion, like creating content specifically for an emotion, whether it's the way they explained it was WTF, OMG, LOL, or aw, that's cute. Like whatever you want them to say or think at the end, and then reverse engineering the content to evoke that specific emotion.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to like drive the next step or the end result, you know, like sharing or commenting. So I feel like those two things, knowing your audience, that carries a lot of like different little pieces to it, obviously, and then like making it relatable and building that connection.
Yeah, I love that, like evoking emotion, because that's what good content does. Like,
Yeah.
it makes you want to interact with it.
Yeah.
And how do you translate that into metrics and like success on like a data level? Like, is there something specifically you're looking at? Like, is it impressions? Is it likes?
Yes. So as a media company, and this is like a little bit different from like a normal business, which kind of took me years to figure out. I'm like, oh wait, remember, we are a media company. We monetize our audience.
Yes.
So it's different. But we look at views first and foremost. So that's
Okay.
like page views on our website, and then views or reach on social media, just because like everything else kind of funnels to views. So it's like a good top metric for us. But of course, engagement is so key too, because that's what's driving the views, and like the algorithm obviously changes, and it can affect how we look at things. Like every day it's changing. But generally speaking, we're looking for like shares, comments, and saves.
Okay.
I'm not a very big like person. Everyone has their own like personal
Yeah.
love of a metric, but I'm not a big like person just because I don't post unless it's like my sister's new baby.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want everyone to see like I love this baby, you know?
Yes.
But I feel like those other things, shares, comments, saves, like those mean a deeper, like it's a deeper signal. Like, okay, you want to save this for later. It's
Yeah.
actually valuable to you. Or sharing, obviously, like you want to share it with somebody that's like that's very connected. Commenting, like you care. You need to tell people your
Yeah.
thoughts. So those things are super important to us because those are driving the views in the end. So.
Yeah.
And then I do think it's important to say, like, it doesn't always have to be about metrics. Like for small businesses or different types of businesses, like just sharing content that's valuable to your end actual customer, like whether it's daily specials or hours or, you know, something from behind the scenes that you really care about to show like who you are as a brand. Like
Sure.
even if it doesn't get those saves, of course, like why would they save it? But they will come in and try that new pastry. You know what I
Yes,
mean? That's what
yes.
matters.
Yeah, absolutely. The saves things is interesting. Like, that's something I guess I don't think about often on a metric, but like if I'm interacting with content, like that's like the biggest compliment I can get.
Same.
Something. Yeah,
Same.
absolutely. Like, so you're saving that for later because it is, like you said, it's valuable.
And I'm throwing out saves like every minute.
Yep. And for Buffalo, New York, like, have you found that there's a specific strategy or storytelling aspect that like this community is drawn to?
So I would say the main thing, like we definitely take inspiration globally, like from, you know, now the world's just so global that we are looking at accounts that are everywhere. And I think the trends like really focus on that kind of thing. But here, the focus on local is just huge. Like Western New Yorkers have so much love for local businesses
Yes.
and brands that we've really built our whole strategy around that. Like, and incorporating like local references, traditions, like just cultural references, that creates like a really awesome connection with the audience that, you know, it almost like stopped us from expanding because we were like, is this just a Buffalo thing? Like,
Yeah.
of course it's other places, but it's not everywhere. And then even like the local businesses, like actual businesses starting in places. Like I went to school in Ohio and
Okay.
there was no like local pizzerias, local ice cream shops. Like we have, you know, 50 of those in Hamburg alone. So I don't know where you're from, but
I live in Hamburg now currently.
Okay,
So like,
so you
yeah,
get it.
Yes, I do. And I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. So like small
Okay.
town, but I would say definitely more like we had a lot of chains. Whereas
Yes.
like here it is local and I love that aspect. Yeah.
So yeah, we were like, where do we go? That's like they have the same vibe because
Yes.
it's so important to like the content we create. And yeah, I would recommend to anyone creating content for Western New Yorkers, like that will pull on the heartstrings and that will evoke emotion.
Yep.
That's like just a great general theme to go with.
Yeah, I mean, Western New Yorkers really love Western New York. Like,
Yeah.
it's a special thing. And did you go to college in Columbus? Is that what kind of your connection there?
No, I went to school in Oxford, so it's
Okay.
like Southwest
Yeah.
Ohio, at Miami University. So I would drive through Columbus.
Yes.
The reason for Columbus is like not as good as you would hope. It's really just like, okay, it's close. We can get there easily. we feel like it's underrated, up and coming,
For sure.
growing population, young people, cool stuff happening. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I went to school in Cleveland. So
Yeah.
very similar, but
Right.
been to Columbus, and it does have that like kind of similar like burgeoning feeling that Buffalo does. Like it's right on the cusp of something great.
right. And it's growing, and there's like so much happening there. So it's exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And with the rise of like digital media and social platforms, kind of how has that storytelling evolved? And I guess more importantly, like what challenges or opportunities did this present for your content creators in Western New York?
So I think that the components of storytelling haven't really changed. I think like evoking emotion and like creating the narrative with a lasting impact is like pretty classic and will continue to be. But I think the way that it actually has evolved is that it's evolving daily. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that's obviously different from back in the day. My family used to own like a publishing company that was like a printing press and everything. And, my dad was involved in that. So he has like roots in advertising and writing and content creation, but in a
Okay.
very different
Yeah.
way. And obviously, like, that is the biggest difference, I would say. So just the fact that, like, the little nuanced patterns are changing, I would say is the biggest thing. And to me, the challenge is just keeping up with that. Like, that's the biggest problem, opportunity, really, in the same way. But in order to do that, I think the person creating content has to be personally and authentically like on the platform themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Just in order to fully understand how it works and to recognize those patterns and then adjust accordingly. You just can't underestimate the power of like scrolling on TikTok for 2 hours
Oh, I know.
to learn. It's for
Yep.
work,
Yep. Yeah, I do that just on
yeah.
my own. And my gosh, like, but you see the trends. I mean, on daily, weekly, like, what people are talking about. And then like that translates into conversations with others. Like it's
Yeah.
actually wild
It
how much
really
it changes.
is. Yeah. And I think that's the opportunity too. Like anyone that's willing to put in the effort and be consistent, like you can do it. There's no barrier of entry at all. So I think it does take consistency, commitment, and like a lot of analysis and like truthfully studying it. So you have to take it to the next level. Like it's not enough to just sit there and scroll. You need to study, and that's like something once you're in like advertising, especially your content creation, it's like you can never consume content in the same way.
Yes.
You're just watching at all times. But
Yep.
but it's also fun.
Yeah. And hitting that save button for anything that inspires you
Yes.
too. Yep.
Yep. Put it in the bank.
Oh, yes. Do you have a favorite or most memorable slice of content that Step Up Buffalo's created, like one that just really sticks with you?
I do. I would say the most memorable was the first one that like really gave us a huge bump in our traffic on our website was our August bucket list. It was in like 2013.
Oh, okay.
And it was like no one is using bucket list like
Yeah.
at the time. So it sounds so overdone now, but that was like it's such a big day. Like I was at the time where I was like watching our page views, our Google Analytics
Yes.
every single day. I would wake up and look at it. What's happening today? Oh, still just 20 people. And that was like huge, like hundreds of people bump. So that's my most memorable. But my favorite now is like all the new articles about new restaurant openings and
Yes.
like videos because I'm a food person at heart. It's like I love to see the new concepts, the new spaces, like the new menus, and just then get excited to go to them.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my personal favorites,
Yeah.
too. Same here. I'm like, I always know what's happening, what's opening, what's closing because of Step Up
Yeah.
Buffalo, which is nice. So thank
Love
you.
to hear it.
Yes. And then are there any programs or series that Step Up Buffalo is testing out this year that we should watch for? Or, and it's okay if you can't tease anything too great.
No, that's okay. I would say we're really focusing lately on like reverse engineering from hooks that we know are gonna like land with people.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do like a lot more multi-part series, which of course is huge on TikTok and therefore Reels. So like crazy food combos, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm excited for
Yeah,
it.
that's definitely fun.
People really love it right now. So
Of course.
we've been testing that in Columbus, actually. Our content creator there, he's like really great with the hooks. So
Nice.
we're like, all right, we got to implement that in Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simonelli recently engaged with Step Out Buffalo to partner on sponsored content. And I mean, I can tell you from personal experience that we love it. Some of our, best performing videos as well, just because, we share that audience with you, which is amazing. But can you talk a little bit about what that program looks like and then how maybe other local businesses can work with Step Out Buffalo?
Yes, we are so excited about it.
Yeah.
We're calling it the Street Itineraries
Yeah.
series with Simonelli. So How that works is we basically collaborated with you guys to come up with an editorial series that like we knew would resonate with our audience and then also reach like the marketing goals of Simonelli.
Sure.
Which you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in this case, I think that was really to be a Buffalo booster, showcase your company as like a community supporter. And obviously you guys have so much to do with building a beautiful city and experiences for everyone to enjoy. So just kind of like tying that all together with content. And we really like people can partner with us in a lot of different ways, a range of budgets, different types of companies, and how we do that, how we advertise, it all depends on what type of company you are, what your marketing goals are. But like smaller businesses will do like if you're an editorial fit, we call it, which is like if you're a thing to do, a restaurant, an event, we have like super organic native advertising options. So we'll do like videos about like Becker Farms, for example, and just explain all the things there are to do. Family friendly, getaway, staycation, apple picking, all those fun things. So it's a huge range of stuff. We like pride ourselves on being innovative in the advertising area, doing stuff, offering stuff that no one else in this area in terms of local advertising offers.
Yes.
So we have fun with it. We've heard it's fun for like the marketers that we work with to like actually work on the campaign. So
yeah. Oh yeah. We love it. And even we were talking about how jealous we are of the content creators at Step Out Buffalo, because we're like, well, we want to go eat and drink at all of our favorite places on Main Street or Washington Street. Like, it hits all of the ones that we love on a daily basis. So
yeah, my coworker Emily has the best job ever.
Yes. Yeah. And are there any insights or lessons learned from your experience that you think is valuable for digital marketing teams or content creators?
Yeah. So there's a lot. I think like it's important to build a marketing strategy, and I think it doesn't have to be as hard as it sounds and as like intricate as it sounds. It can be like as simple as Googling what's a marketing strategy and like answering 5 questions,
Yeah.
and working on that periodically for a couple months so that you have time to really like let it marinate and think it through, and then questioning that regularly. I think so important. Yes. I am do that to a fault, honestly, so don't go too far with it, but definitely in this day and age, to keep up, you have to be constantly rethinking it a little bit. And I think experimenting is like one thing that a lot of people don't think about. You have to be throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what's working and then like double down on what's working. So yeah. I think like those phases of a marketing strategy are important to remember. Like, so if you're a brand new business or even like a project within an existing business, it's so important to have that experimental phase where you are investing. You're going to lose money before you win. And then you're going to double down. You're going to figure out what works or doesn't work, even if you fail. And then you're going to double down on what is working. And I'm personally like just a big goal person, metrics, and I'm like analyzing it to death. And if the numbers like aren't there, let's not be romantic about it just because you like it. Move on, figure out what does work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of, I think, the great things about social media and how it's really grown and, other platforms as well. But you do have those metrics now. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell what's working and what's not. And you can actually see those trends. And
it's so important.
It is. And it's interesting, too. Like, sometimes the best idea that maybe I think I have or somebody else has turns out to be a flop or vice versa. And you're like, huh, it makes you think.
Wait a second.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's so like even somebody who's doing this every day, all the time, like me, like we think something's going to go well and it doesn't.
Yep.
And like to do that postmortem on everything is so important to analyze, study. Why didn't this work? Oh, it was because of this. I can't believe we forgot about that or we didn't realize.
Yeah.
And then it compounds and you learn a lot. And eventually you have this like great toolbox for kind of being able to like figure something out that is going to hit, you know, which absolutely. Is just cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, you've had 11 successful years. I hope you have more than 11 more, coming up. I mean, it's a great resource, like I said, and I hope that if anybody out there that isn't using Step Out Buffalo, they definitely should be now.
I appreciate that. We have fun with it, and thank you for following along.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining me and sharing your insights. It was like having a Buffalo celebrity here.
I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Simonelli Chats. We'd like to thank Emily Morrow from Step Out Buffalo for taking the time today to talk about her company's brand, marketing strategy in Buffalo, New York, and the impact of social media and content creation. Be sure to follow Step Out Buffalo on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. I will link their account handles and website in the show notes. As always, don't forget to subscribe to Simonelli Chats wherever you get your podcasts and share this episode with anyone who may be interested in listening. Until next time.